Burner TV network and ZingoTV channel 250. This show can be seen on Roku and Roku Fire TV Sticks and Amazon Fire TV Sticks and on ZingoTV on Chromecast and all smart TVs 2016 forward. Please remember to download the Barn Burner and ZingoTV apps in their respective app stores. Both are free on both iOS and Android devices. Please remember to rate the app and comment on both apps as you use them, so we know that you're enjoying them, and that means that we are doing our jobs as well. So we have a really special episode ahead this evening, and I'm really, really privileged to be able to bring this to you this evening. So for the women's hockey extravaganza, after talking with our team, I am really pleased to be able to bring aboard both Lindsay Eastwood from the NWHL's Toronto Six and Brooke Avery from the Metropolitan Riveters. They'll be joining me at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time for a roundtable for about an hour roughly to talk about everything from college hockey to their NWHL careers to family impacts on hockey, etc. So I'm really thrilled to be able to bring that to light. And before that, I'm going to do a condensed version of the NWHL cooldown with info that I did share yesterday, but due to some unfortunate technical difficulties, I am going to try and bring some of that back to light, minus some disturbances today. So that being said, let's jump right into this, as I only have about 27 minutes now. So that being said, the Minnesota Whitecaps announced on Tuesday morning the signing of another 3 players for the upcoming season, and those players are Brooke White-Lancet, Rosa Leyva, and Sarah Bustad. Sarah Bustad, who is joining them after spending last season in Buffalo with the Buttes. Now, earlier this offseason, the team signed Corden Bowie for the upcoming season. So Bustad and Bowie played together with the Buttes and will now reunite at H.E.R rink with the Whitecaps. And now the Whitecaps are a reshaping team. They've been rebuilding all offseason, trying to bring in new faces, younger faces, remodel the roster. And so I think that this was a solid move before I even get right down to business. And, another 2 familiar faces in White-Lancet and Aleva, who are rejoining what's for the most part a rather familiar roster, which I will break down further at the end. And there's a unique aspect to Bustad joining the Whitecaps from the Buttes. So let's get right into it. So, an original member of the Whitecaps, as stated by the NWHL's press release, White-Lancet's long and accomplished career has included years with the U.S. national team program and at Northeastern in her collegiate hockey career. This will be her 3rd season in the National Women's Hockey League and her 17th with the Whitecaps. Last season, she recorded 2 goals and an assist in 10 games. Now, in 133 games over 4 seasons at Northeastern, and this was from 98 to 2003, White-Lancet had 45 goals along with 72 assists for 117 points. She took off the year from Northeastern in 2000-2001, and that was to join the U.S. national team's residency program in Lake Placid and play in the 2001 World Championship and pre-Olympic tour. She also participated in several development camps for the national program with the U.S. national women's team. Now, in a statement from White-Lancet upon her return, she said, "Nothing compares to being on the ice with your teammates, and to have the opportunity to defend and compete for the Isabel Cup is something truly special. As always, I'd like to thank the NWHL, the Whitecaps organization, our coaching staff, loyal fans, Trio Orthopedic, Trio Rink, the Minnesota Wild, my teammates, and my family for making it possible to be a part of the game we're all blessed to play." That being said, Aleva, now as I turn to her, she was a +/-5, or sorry, that's stated a little weirdly, but she is +5 in 17 games in 2019-20, her first season with the Whitecaps in the NWHL after playing 2 seasons in China in the CWHL, and that was with the Kunlun Red Star, who later became the Shenzhen Kara Spanky Rays. And so if you go to her elite prospects page, you will find it as the Kara Spanky Rays. Now, the 5'3" defender was actually born in China, and she was raised after that in Red Wing, Minnesota. She was a finalist for the famed Miss Hockey Minnesota Award in her senior season at Red Wing High. At Princeton, where she played her collegiate hockey career with the Tigers, Aleva scored 9 goals and was credited with 30 assists in 115 career games. She led the Tigers' defense and scoring in her junior and senior seasons and was second-team All-Ivy League as a senior. Aleva also won the team's Unsung Hero Award in her senior season and was a recipient of the Preseason Athlete Award in her junior and senior seasons for her commitment to preparation and conditioning. So, In a statement from Aleva upon her return, she said, "It is an honor to be playing again for the Whitecaps. I love what our team stands for and our efforts to grow the game. I can't wait to start games in the new year." Now, this seems to be a resembling thought from, obviously all those who are signing contracts for the upcoming season, especially after a 7-month holdout. At this point, signing gives them, a glimmer of hope that they'll be able to, return for this league sixth season, especially in these uncertain times, to say the very least, of COVID-19. So, in a statement from Rhonda Curtin Engelhart, co-head coach of the Minnesota Whitecaps, she said, "Rose is a smooth skating, puck moving defender who is tenacious in her pursuits. We're really glad to have Rose back for her second NWHL season." So let's move on to the newest member of the Minnesota Whitecaps now, Sarah Bustad. She is a native of Stillwater, Minnesota, and is coming home to join the Whitecaps after spending last season with the Buffalo Beauts. Now, with the Beauts, she was 2-9-11 in 23 games with the Beauts. At Minnesota State, the versatile skater played 138 games. Prior to college, Bustad attended 2 USA Hockey National development camps. Bustad formerly served as community hockey coordinator for diversity development and sled hockey for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, um, seeing that there is affiliation between players and National Hockey League teams, and that these women are getting recognition of, some sort in, any capacity that they might be in, I think is really fantastic. And, you see that the Boston Bruins, Minnesota Whitecaps already partner with the NWHL in, pursuit of arenas. So I think that that's off the bat really special. And, this only adds to that, seeing that players can seek opportunities on and off the ice with NHL teams through their partnerships. They've done skill camps with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, another amazing achievement. Now, in a statement from Bustad upon her return to her hometown before making her debut with the Whitecaps, she said, "I'm beyond excited to join the Minnesota Whitecaps for my second season in the NWHL. It's great to be back in the Minnesota hockey community. I'm looking forward to being with my teammates and with the women I grew up playing with and against. Thank you to the Buffalo Beauts organization, my teammates, and the supporters for my professional hockey experience in New York last year." In a statement from Jack Brutt, the GM and co-head coach of the Whitecaps, he said, "Brooke is a team leader and the hardest worker on our team. Rose's good hands and quick moves are a great asset in breaking out the puck. Sarah will bolster our defense, and her ability to make plays should add to our offense. I'm confident that all three players will play important roles in helping the Whitecaps retain the Isabel Cup." Now, what's really interesting about Bustad is the only reason she's returning to Minnesota is because she actually got a job at a nearby high school, and her assistant coach for the team is Maddie Rowe, who is a graduate of the Wisconsin Badgers in the NCAA and is also her newest teammate. So, just some interesting tidbits there. The school, as mentioned, you can find at Bo Knows Hockey on Twitter, as Bo Marchwick from Elite Prospects has the update on that. So let's take a look now at the Whitecaps roster with this move now in the books. So these three will join Jonah Curtis, Chelsea Brought Rosenthal, Winnie Brought Brown, who was signed last week as one of three players and is the daughter of Jack Brought, Emma Stauber, Amanda Boulier, Ali Thunstrom, Lisa Martinson, Megan Payson, Megan Lawrence, Audra Richards, Amanda Levier, Ali Morse, and a couple others who are not currently listed at this time. And so for that, I will read off of a list that I do believe I have here. All right, here it is. The roster as it currently looks, minus the other three who just signed, which I'm talking about. Here's the full roster: Ali Dunstrom, Jonah Curtis, Amanda Boulier, Amanda Levier, Corin Bowie, Audra Richards, Ali Morse, Megan Payson, Megan Lawrence, Haley Mack, Maddie Rowe, Chelsea Rosenthal, Emma Stauber, Winnie Brought Brown, Lisa Martinson, Stephanie Anderson, Rosa Leva. Then joining Rosa Leva is Sarah Bustad and Brooke White Lancet. So that is a pretty full roster and brings their number up to 20. However, rumors still have it that they're looking to add another two, and that is going to be Presley Norby. And joining Presley Norby is Anna Zoomwinkle. Both are still expected, and that will bring the number up to 22. More updates on that will come supposedly in the next week, seeming that they've been doing Tuesday mornings for their recent signings. Now, let's take a look at the rosters around the National Women's Hockey League. So, starting with the Riveters, after acquiring Kelly Babcock from the Toronto Six, they are currently at 21. The Buffalo Buttes as well stand at 21. The Toronto Six stand at 17, and supposedly have an 18th. I'm still trying to confirm that. I should have more info on that presumably next week on Six and Sticks. The Connecticut Whale and Boston Pride stand at 20 as it stands. So that kind of brings you around the NWHL with everything that's going on. And, we look at growth and success of this league and what sustainable future looks like. And that's kind of where I want to turn next. So that being said, we know Tyler Tumminia was instated as the commissioner, but, we can't forget about Danny Ryland and everything that she did and how the players are, very thankful for for everything she's done, the leadership that she's brought towards sponsorships, a level of professionalism, whether it's arenas, amenities, whatever it might be. And so recently, Ann Tokarski from the icegarden.com sat down with Kira Dostal-Arena. And so this conversation I'm going to read a little bit of, just so you kind of understand that, coming from the NCAA at Colgate University and the CWHL of the Boston Blades, joining the NWHL as an import player, she speaks about, her great experience there, then her transition to the NWHL. And so the first couple of paragraphs I'm actually just going to skip down. However, Dostal-Arena did take a leap of faith and traveled more than 4,000 miles to Austria. And this was towards the beginning of her professional career, where she would become an integral part of a two-time European Women's Hockey League championship squad with the EHB Sabres. So getting right into it, she said, "It was an experience I wouldn't trade for anything. To be able to play hockey, to come overseas and experience the culture was just the best of both worlds." And this was, again, speaking of her time in Vienna, overseas playing hockey. And this is a country not known for hockey, however, was far from a perfect experience, as Tokarski notes. Now, Dostal-Arena says, "The immediate difference that stands out to me is just the level of play. The United States and Canada are really like the center of women's hockey and growth, just in terms of people buying in." And again, she adds that as an import, she was one of a few players on the Sabres roster who actually received a stipend along with coverage of her housing and flights. The rest of her teammates, many of whom were Austrian natives, weren't so lucky. So you kind of understand the many challenges and divides of pro women's hockey around the globe that has been experienced. Now, Tokarski continues on to write, "The marketing and fan engagement aspects, which have come to be seen as so pivotal to the growth of women's hockey in North America, were also lacking in the Austrian market," to which Dostal-Arena said, "The fans were minimal, but there were some super brands, with drums and jerseys, and that should say bands." Anyways, so Tokarski writes, "Women's sports teams in the United States are no stranger to drums and least of all to jerseys, but instances of dedicated fandom beyond the friends and families of players were pretty few and far between over in Austria." Anyways, she goes on to write, "After 4 years with the EHV Sabres in Vienna, Dostal-Arena returned to the U.S. To join the CWHL's Boston Blades. So, though she only played 11 regular season games as a member of the team, it's a season she remembers fondly, highlighted by the lasting friendships she would form with then teammates and future NWHL competitors in Jillian Dempsey and Anya Packer." She says of Dempsey, "She was an amazing teammate. Even though she was one of the youngest on the team, she came with 110% to every single practice. It's amazing to have her on your team. So now to be on the other side of the ice after ... 6 years, I'm not at all surprised by that work ethic." So while Anya Packer suited up for 13 games with the Blades, Dostal-Arena remembers her and her impact just as fondly. And to that, Dostal-Arena says, "When I was teammates with Anya Packer, she was always the one kind of organizing events and bringing the team together and going the extra mile to get the Blades visible to the area. So I'm not surprised to see her leading the NWHLPA and just being a total trailblazer in the whole movement." And this is speaking of someone who is, listening to the players, working with Danny Ryland and the whole management team to try and get standards more professional, work on safety measures, especially in a time like right now, among other things. Anyways, Tokarski writes, "After one season with the Blades, which ended in a heartbreaking 1-0 loss to the Toronto Furies in the Clarkson Cup final, Dostal-Arena retired from professional hockey, or so she thought." Now, Josh Alrina said, I lived in New Hampshire, so driving 2 hours down to Boston was my only option at the time. It was too much. I was head coach of a hockey team at the time, and with teaching, it was just too much of a commitment, so I hung up the skates for a year. Now, for Dos Arena, that year off from hockey was one of her hardest. Trying to find a purpose for herself outside of hockey was something she had never experienced, and that time off left her feeling lost. She said, I felt like there was still such a fire in me to be an athlete and to get stronger and better. And when word came around the NWHL, I was just like so fired up to be a part of it. I didn't hesitate. I didn't think about it for more than a second. Dos Salarino continues on to say, I thought I was hanging up my skates for good. And then to have this better opportunity pop up, like it changed my whole direction. And this, again, is speaking to her brief retirement. So, it truly seems like the stars aligned, as Tokarski writes, seeing as Dos Arena has, risen from retirement and is obviously one of the stars of the Metropolitan Riveters now. So she writes, for starters, Dos Arena already had plans to move to New York. Growing up in Connecticut, the city had always been her home base. When Janine Weber, her best friend and former teammate on the Sabres, signed the first contract in NWHL history to play with the Riveters, Dos Arena knew that she was setting her skates on the right path. And that's where Dos Arena said, this was like, oh my God, it's a sign, like I meant to go to New York. My whole life feels so fulfilled. Having this as part of my life, it's hard to even describe. So since then, Dos Arena has become a cornerstone of the Riveters franchise, playing in the red, white, and blue for the entirety of her NWHL career. In July, she became one of the most recent players to commit to the Riveters ahead of season 6, signing a contract, and she brings, as we all know, a wealth of experience and records to the roster. Um, Moving forward, as of the end of the 2019-20 season, Dos Arena ranked second all-time in Riveters franchise history in games played, with 80, penalty minutes with 60, and points among Blue Liners with 25. She was a part of the championship Riveters squad in 2018 and was named to the 2020 All-Star Weekend as a member of Team Dempsey. So, looking forward, Dos Arena could not be more excited to get back on the ice with the team she loves, Tokarski writes, in which Dos Arena said, last year I was playing part time, but I'm excited this season to be full time on the ice twice a week at all our games. I'm excited. My goal is just to bring 110% on the ice at all times and just ... be steady, reliable teammate. So when Dos Salarina reflects back on her career and all the transatlantic red-eye flights and winding turns that have gotten her here, there's nothing but appreciation for what she's ended up, for where she's ended up, as written by Tokarski. Dos Arena concludes, I'm so grateful for every year that I have this opportunity, and I don't want to take 1 second for granted. I just love playing, and I love the Riveters, and that's with thanks to Danny Ryland, who has made this kind of thing possible. So, that being said, Danny Ryland recently took to Twitter and asked her many followers one simple question, which was, name one city in the American market and one city in a Canadian market, and then said 1, 2, 3, go, as far as expansion goes. So, answers really varied from, Chicago to Seattle to Quebec City to, all over the globe. And Montreal itself, given that they lost Lake Canadien de Montréal when the CWHL shuttered, among so many others. And so, this was a really interesting thing because after Tyler Tumenia was named as commissioner, the last statement of that press release read, stay tuned for more updates on expansion in the coming weeks, among other things. So, a story from the Chicago Sun-Times recently rose, and this is from Madeline Kenny, with the article titled, Elite Women's Hockey Team Looks to Go Pro, but will take on men in a Chicago Adult League first. The first header writes, the North Stars, who are believed to be the first all-women's team to play in the Chicago Men's League, hope to someday join the National Women's Hockey League. And the NWHL has since seen this and said they don't know when, but you can count on them paying attention and perhaps an expansion to come in the future. So that being said, this is led by Anna Lurie, alongside a couple of her teammates, and they are currently playing at Johnny's Ice House in Chicago. And so when we look at growth, I'm going to read a little bit of this article. So, Anna Lurie would love nothing more than to bring a professional National Women's Hockey League team to Chicago. That's why she co-founded the Chicago North Stars, a new elite women's hockey team that hopes to qualify for next spring's USA Hockey Nationals and establish itself as one of the best women's teams in the nation. But first, Lurie and her teammates will have to skate by, around, and if necessary, through male players to get there. With the roster compiled of former NWHL, college, and AAA club hockey players, the North Stars are planning to play in a Johnny Icehouse men's league as part of their preparation for nationals. So, Ali Lawrence, Laurie's teammate, says, we were trying to figure out a way to play regularly and play high competitive games. So we decided that we're going to join a men's league. This way, we don't have to travel every week to find a team to play or play against teams that are a lower level than us. And Lawrence is the team president. After consulting with the Adult League's general manager, the North Stars, who are believed to be the first all-women's team to play in the Chicago Men's League, were put into the C2 division, which is made up of mainly players who have played at least on high school or high competitive AAA teams. To that, Lauren said, we're playing guys who are much taller and have stronger upper body strength, so we're going to have to be smarter than them in order to be competitive with them. And of course, we hope in turn that makes us smarter, faster, and better hockey players. So when we do play against those women's teams, we can just go in there and destroy them. Anyways, so the point of this article being, they're not just a beer league team. They are, again, titled as an elite women's hockey team, and they're out there striving for one goal. So, anyways, as this article continues with that in mind, there are limited options for women who want to play hockey beyond college in Chicago, never mind, anywhere else, which is why the NWHL and CWHL existed and why the NWHL is still around. So the article goes on. Sure, there's the Women's Central Hockey League, but playing in that league means you have to regularly travel to neighboring states to play competitive games. And while it's not uncommon for individual women to play alongside men in adult leagues, Lauren said she first wanted to develop an elite all-women's league in Chicago with the idea she could pull off the top players from the league to create a nationals team, which again is one of the striving goals out of forming this organization. So, after all, she says, the city is and its surrounding suburbs have produced some of the best college and professional players. Lauren says, there's no reason we shouldn't have a powerhouse of a team. The biggest problem, of course, with creating a powerhouse of a team is there aren't teams to play against that are local, so we wanted to create that. Anyways, with the league taking form, Kenny goes on to write, earlier this year, Lawrence had 6 teams ready to play in a Premier League in a season that would have started in May, but then the coronavirus pandemic hit. Unable to play as state officials urged people to stay home in close sports facilities, Lawrence and her friend Lurie decided to create the North Stars, an all-star team with some of the initial league's top players. And to that, Lurie said, we decided we were going to put together the best team in Chicago and then hopefully one day the best team in this country, said Lurie, a forward who doubles as the North Stars general manager. Lawrence said, we're not just another beer league team. We're not just another rec team. We're something special, Lawrence said. And so with the target on their back, as this portion of the article is captioned, forward Jessica Howerton, a native of Schaumburg who played hockey at Colby College, was invited to try out for an NWHL team on the East Coast in 2015, the league's inaugural season. But she passed on the opportunity so she could return home to be closer to her family. Since then, Howerton, 28, has been playing in leagues largely made up of men. Playing with the guys has its challenges as men are naturally stronger, faster, and taller than women, she said. The female game is a lot more skilled based, and that it is. And if you watch the National Women's Hockey League on Twitch or if you're there in person, you notice that. And for those of you in the Toronto area who are watching this, if you are out to see the Toronto Six once, consent is given from local health authorities, you will notice that with a lot of their players who are coming right out of college to join the NWHL's newest expansion team, their second expansion team. Anyways, that to be said, Howerton said, there's more passing, there's more game flow with them with the guys, and that's why I enjoyed it a lot more. While the men are generally welcoming to women, Howerton said some guys can be a little more physical with her when they spot her ponytail hanging out of her helmet. To which she said, a lot of the guys don't like girls out there who are better than them or can make a move and go around them. They don't like that, she said, so there's definitely a target on your back. Anyways, with uncertainty remaining as the pandemic continues, the North Stars are eager to start their season, which has been derailed several times due to the pandemic, as Kenny writes. Their men's league season was scheduled to start last month, but Governor J.B. Pritzker, his sports guidelines have put on pause activities deemed high risk, such as hockey, but they're not the only state to do that. If you look at New Hampshire and Boston, who are going through the same thing, and parts of Toronto are currently the same way, as well as, I believe, Quebec, who are also going through the 28-day lockdown, much like the GTA. Anyways, to that, the North Stars also had to drop out of a qualifying tournament in Indiana this month after the Hoosier State was added to Chicago's emergency travel order, requiring travelers there to quarantine for 14 days upon return. For now, the team is practicing when it can at Johnny's Ice House, including with men's teams in the C2 division. And so there are many, compliances that players have to be okay with. And part of that is entering the rink wearing a face mask, doing so when they're not on the ice. They're also restricting the number of players who can be on the ice and bench. And that the same is being said for the NWHL right now in terms of how many can be at practices at a time. And to this, Laurie said, we kind of have the mentality that we're going to keep practicing, keep scrimmaging amongst ourselves, and hopefully come 2021, things will lighten up a little. So the article goes on to write, while the short-term goal is to make it to nationals, the team has to play 14 qualifying games against other women's teams and win their district to punch their ticket to the main event. Laurie and Lawrence have bigger dreams. Laurie believes it's not unrealistic to think Chicago could have a professional women's franchise in the next 4 to 5 years, and hence why they are out there to achieve their mission to join the National Women's Hockey League. So, with 2 more minutes until my roundtable begins with Brooke Avery and Lindsay Eastwood, or at least presumably as scheduled for 5:30, I'm going to read a little bit about kind of where the women's game is currently at. After the Canadian Women's Hockey League folded last year, the NWHL is the only professional women's hockey league in North America, with teams in Boston, Buffalo, Connecticut, New Jersey, Minnesota, and now Toronto. Organizers have said the league is looking to expand. That has been mentioned several times since. And, Danny Ryland is looking to continue to be creative and innovative, along with Tyler Tuminia, who's now the interim commissioner, and will likely have that tag taken off very soon. So, Lauren said she would welcome a partnership someday with the Blackhawks, who've been big supporters of women's hockey programs in a similar way as Anaheim Ducks support the Lady Ducks, or the Boston Bruins partner with the Boston Pride. And another one that's not mentioned in this article is the Arizona Coyotes, who just built an arena for the Kachinas girls Coyotes hockey program. So to that note, this is where Lauren said, why not in a couple of years after we've proven to be the best in the Midwest, she said, why not eventually become a Lady Blackhawks? We should have a high-level women's hockey team here, and supposedly that'll happen one day. It's just a matter of when. The Chicago Blackhawks have partnered with the PWHPA during their Dream Gap tour in Chicago. Along with that, they've hosted several of their players, including former NWHLer Kendall Coyne-Schofield, who is a member of the U.S. national women's team, among others, for a training session. And that was a community event as part of the weekend-long Dream Gap Tour stop. And that was hosted at United Center, home of the Chicago Blackhawks. So as it's now 5:29, I welcome in both Lindsay Eastwood and Brooke Avery. Your timing is absolutely perfect. So thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, Justin. Thanks for having us.
Hey, Justin.
Thank you guys so much for doing this. I thought that this would be, a creative way to kind of I guess, get the energy and hype flowing surrounding the National Women's Hockey League season coming up. And, there have been practices and whatnot that you guys have been attending. But first off, before we get to that, I've spoken with Lindsay before, but I'm going to ask this question to her again, like I will yourself, Brooke. So, what has life been like the last, 7 months of this pandemic, never mind now back to hockey, and it's weird in different ways. And I'll start with Brooke, I guess.
Sure. So, yeah, like we're all in the same position. Unfortunately, we don't know what's going to happen. But I think personally, so I was living in New Jersey last year after the end of our season, and then was able to end up going back home back in, I think it was about April, the beginning of April. So I just came back down for practices about a month ago or so. And I had a really great summer. I had a lot of time to spend with my family, which I haven't gotten in a long time. Obviously, hockey takes up a big time, or a lot of the time all the way up through. So I went to prep school, so I was away for 4 years there, then again for 5 years in college, and then again last year. So I haven't really been home a whole lot. So it was nice to actually spend that time with my family and friends and stuff like that, like I said, I haven't gotten to do in a long time. But it's definitely good to be back in the rhythm of practice and playing hockey again, because obviously that is one of the things that kind of went to the back burner a little bit. But it's nice to have the rinks back open. It's nice to have some facilities back open. So it's been an adjustment, obviously. And if you don't skate for a while, you definitely know. I'm sure Lindsay knows. You kind of feel like Bambi out there. But no, it's been a really good experience so far. I'm really happy to have the season back, because I know for a long time we didn't know what was going to happen. So it's really nice to be able to have that reassurance and to get going again soon.
Yeah, I think we can all say that. It's nice to know that hockey is back in some form. Games presumably not till January at the current timeline, but at least there's a sense of that hockey reality coming back. So, Lindsay, since the last time I spoke with you, what's your life kind of been like? From full perspective, work, hockey. What's that look like?
Yeah, it's been a big adjustment. It's a big change from university. This is my first year off the leash of the university leash. So I'm a big girl now, in one way or another. So I'm working full time for a digital media or digital marketing agency. I'm doing some project management work with them, helping out, and that the Toronto Six helped me get that gig, and so I've been doing that since the end of September, and it's work from home. So lots of, sitting at home. I don't, if I, the only reason I have to leave the house now is for hockey. So that's definitely a great outlet. And I love being able to actually go to the rink. And so now that we're back on the ice, like you guys said, it's really nice to have hockey back and have the rinks open for a while. There in the summer, like I just got my skate sharpened for the first time since March last week. So definitely working those bad boys in now again and getting back into the swing of things. So it's nice. But although, Justin in Ontario, like gyms and all that closed, you can't go inside gyms right now. So I'm back on the at home workout grind a little bit. So putting myself through it on my own on my off days that I'm not with the Sick. So it's good though. I'm enjoying it. A little work-life balance, and hockey definitely is the cap on the end of the day in a good way.
Right, and it's something that we're oddly familiar with in these times, given that earlier on in the pandemic, when everything was shut down, that was just the typical everything from home. So I guess it's kind of nice to, I guess in a sense for you, especially you're working from home, you don't have to go far to be able to go work out and train.
Well, that's one of the biggest adjustments for me living in Toronto. I'm originally from Ottawa, and we have traffic in Ottawa, but nothing like Toronto. It's a different beast, Toronto traffic. So I'll be like driving down the 401 at like 8 o'clock at night, and it'll be stop traffic randomly, and I'll just have no idea. So I'm not quite used to that. So I can't even imagine if I had to go into the office. Like that's an extra hour both ways onto my day with having to commute. So
just wait till you're in New York, bro.
yeah, that's another beast. No way I'd drive there.
Yeah, Toronto on its own is like you said, the traffic is a lot to handle at times. Went downtown last week, and it's just something you have to get used to. I mean, Ottawa, like you said, it's very different. So all right, that being said, let's talk about practices a little bit, since we've already kind of gotten into that. Brooke, I'll start with you. The Metropolitan Riveters have been skating in cohorts since midsummer, and so have you been a part of that, and what's that kind of experience been like in this weird time?
Yeah, so like I said, I moved down here in end of September, beginning of October. So I just joined the team practices at that point, but they've been doing, like you said, we've had training packets and programs and things like that we've worked off of, that everyone has the same thing. So just using that, and obviously, it is a little bit more difficult if you're in a situation where you are able to go to a gym versus if you have to do it at home. So just adjusting with that. But no, the team's been skating together for about a month now, which has been really great. And I kind of talked about it a little bit. I know that Lindsay can probably attest to it too, just having this time to get together to meet your new teammates, because I know at least half my team is new, or new to the team, not necessarily new to the league, but getting to know each other, working on the chemistry, working on systems, different things like that. So that's been a really, really beneficial thing. And I think for each team going into whenever our season does start, that we've had a lot of time to practice, you know what I mean? So, and I know, like, for example, last season and even in college, I know we didn't have as much time, but last season, I think we had maybe 3 or 4 weeks before our first game. And so you have to work in conditioning, chemistry, and systems in a very short amount of time. And we don't practice every day. We only practice twice a week. So that has been a lot better this season. And so I think a lot of people have kind of agreed that, yeah, like we're going to have a lot better competition this year just because, you know, we're another year older. We got another great group of people coming in for their rookie season, so to speak, and then just having this extra time to work together. So it's been a really great experience, and we're lucky that we have a gym to work out at with practice. So that has been super nice for us too, because I know that obviously some teams don't have that. So we definitely try to take advantage of that.
Right. So I was just going to mention that something new to the Metropolitan Riveters this season is a partnership with Parabolic, which is on the upper floor of Montclair State Ice Arena, as my understanding is.
Yeah.
So that must be really beneficial to you guys. And what's the partnership been like so far in terms of what they're providing you?
Yeah, so we worked out with them last year, but I think so just between, I mean, as you're familiar with, you know, work schedules, we have some people that work from home. We have some people that work in New Jersey because that's where Montclair State is. And then we also have people that work in the city or in Connecticut. So we have people commuting. So the workout schedule was a little, I wouldn't say more lenient last year, but we had a lot less attendance than we do right now because we kind of took that into consideration for the season. We wanted to make sure that we could have as many players and as many people at workouts and practice. So, I mean, and that includes the staff too. So we were able to utilize that last year, but this year, even in the first couple of weeks, it's been a lot better just because we have more groups, we have more reps, we have more people to work with. So, you know, we can utilize the space a little bit more. But it's really nice, like Lindsay was saying, that to not have to travel so far for stuff. So being able to have that right there. And they also do physical therapy and stuff, which is super great for us too, if we ever needed anything. So, I mean, obviously we have our trainers and stuff, but they are there as a kind of a backup just in case too. So it's been great. So, and we're really lucky to have that facility. So we're definitely taking advantage of it.
Yeah, it's an extra perk for a National Women's Hockey League team, and I think that's really awesome. When I heard about the move, I looked at the arena, and then I looked at the benefits of it, and I saw Parabolic, and I thought that was awesome. So definitely a perk. And Lindsay, for you, the Toronto Six were announced to be playing at Kemlin Ice Sports on the York University campus. So what are your impression of the rink? As last I spoke to you, you guys were just skating at Scotiabank Pond as the kind of starting point.
Yeah, I'm really liking being at Canlan York now. It's a great spot. Like you said, York University, their men's and women's team also plays out of there. So it's equipped for high level hockey, and they're ready for us to be there. And we're getting our locker room built right now. It's in the works. So super excited to see that finished product. I'm sure it'll be awesome. They're working hard on it. So but the rink's great. I think there's like 6 pads in there. They're crazy. It's huge. And then we got the big rink for when we start playing games. But and then also same deal. We have a gym right in there that we work out at. And then we go there before, and then we hit the ice. So it's really nice to have everything all at one place. Like Brooke had mentioned, like not having to drive from one place to another. It just really cuts down the commute and keeps everything pretty centralized. And I think that's the way professional hockey should be. And so it's bravo and hats off to everyone who put in the work to make that happen for us.
Right. Well, Parabolic has been open for the Riveters. Things are obviously different here in Ontario right now with the spike in cases. And so, my next question for you is on a note of access to the gym. I realize that you guys have been doing workouts outdoors, which is different, but nonetheless, you're putting the work in, and I assume that's part of the COVID restrictions. So what's that been like? And I realize there's also a new trainer. I don't know if that's a team trainer or just someone who's helping right now, but what's the benefit of that been like?
Yeah, I love doing the workouts outside. I mean, like get less sweaty in a way. Doesn't no, it's fun. It's great. We get in our small groups and we do our lift and get her done, and then we go and hit the ice, and it's been awesome. our trainer fulfills our needs, and it's exactly what I want to do for weight training and whatnot to help me prepare. It's hockey. It's for hockey players, the workouts. I know a lot of times you hear like, hockey players doing football workouts. Like, it's really important to be doing it. Brooke and I know I've had our fair share of those.
Oh yes.
And so it's really nice to have someone who knows what they're doing, and it's been good. I'm really enjoying it.
Now, you mentioned that the York men's and women's hockey teams play at Camlin as well. However, the OUA season was canceled. And so, not really sure what I'm expecting to hear with this answer, but I thought this might be fun for the Toronto Six if it's been discussed as an extra perk for the season. Has the Six logo in the middle at center ice been a topic of discussion just to, I guess, fancy things up?
I haven't heard anything about that actually, but that would, I think York would want to drop the gloves with us if we tried to take over their ring too much, No, but that'd be cool. I haven't heard anything about that.
I only thought I'd ask because of the dressing room, which again I think is another awesome benefit that's in the works, like you mentioned. So let's talk coaches now, and Brooke, I'll go back to you with this. Ivo Mocek is your head coach. What's the experience been like playing under him this past season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited. He did a really good job last year. And I think what a lot of people probably didn't know is that he had never coached women's hockey before. So it was kind of an adjustment, not only for him, but for us as a team too, because I mean, growing up, you typically have male coaches. And so we weren't really sure what to expect, but he did a really good job. He had, again, a very uncertain season last year with just everything going on between who was coming back and who wasn't coming back. So we had a really great time last year, and he's a really fun guy. He actually texted me today. We were joking because I hate doing puck races. Like, I am too slow to do puck races, but we were joking around a little bit, and he was like, well, you got to pick 2 drills to do for tomorrow. And I'm like, the person that hates him the most has to pick the drills. Like, what? But no, he's been great. I mean, it's fun. He's kind of just like a player's coach. He's around all the time, really likes hanging out with the girls, but also kind of knows when to give us our space. But he's super passionate too, which I think that sometimes you don't really get out of a coach, and that obviously reflects on the players. But you can tell, like, every practice, every game, he's done his homework, he's prepared, he's ready to go. And it doesn't matter if it's one practice in a week or if it's, the playoffs that we played, like when we were out in Minnesota. He prepares the same way every time, and I think that's pretty unique to his situation. And you can just tell that he's done his scouting, he's done his practice plans and all that kind of stuff. So I think that it really just helps with the flow of everything between operations and just everything on the ice as well. So we're really, really excited to have him back, and I think that he's just as excited to be back too. So we're really fortunate to have such a coach that has such knowledge of the game, but also that passion piece too.
Right, and I think there's something to be said for men coaching women's hockey teams, especially at the pro level. And he's not the only one. Colton Orr, former NHL enforcer, is coaching the Whale. Paul Morrow with the Boston Pride, and Jack Brott with the Minnesota Whitecaps. But I think they invest more in making sure that they're familiar and making doing what they can and making their teams as stacked and ready to go as they can. And for the Riveters, Ivo Mocek has certainly done that this offseason, and recently brought in former Toronto Six now, Kelly Babstock, someone who Lindsay unfortunately didn't get to be all too familiar with, as she didn't show up to the skate, from my understanding, due to a change in schedule. So that's going to make for some really interesting competition, I think, between you two.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've only skated with Babs a couple times, but you can just tell that she has that fierce energy, and she works hard. And I mean, we're lucky to have her. I was like, oh, I wonder what it's going to be like to play. I mean, we've heard Babs before, she's been in the league for a while and didn't play last year, but yeah, we're lucky to have her now. I was like, oh, I wonder what it's going to be like going in the corner against her, but it's not too bad right now. So I'm glad that she's on our side.
That's fair. All right, Lindsay, off to you with coaches. Digit Murphy was recently announced as not only the president of the team, but the head coach. And, not sure that everyone saw that coming, but she's, intense in the best way possible. She's, a ton of fun. So, what's that been like to be under her, and now that she's officially in Toronto?
Yeah, you nailed it. She's very intense, but tons of fun. She definitely brings the energy. She just got to Toronto there a couple of weeks ago, and she's been coming on the ice with us. So that's it's been fun. She's coached at every level, so she's a legend in her own right. One of the most winningest NCAA coaches, female NCAA coaches. She's coached professionally over in China, and over here. So full of energy, I should say, and that's exactly what you need. No, so I'm excited to play under her. She's quite the woman.
Right, and you mentioned when I last spoke with you that or the fact that she's kind of a pro-feminist is a very attractive aspect to you, and just a little additive to you signing with Toronto. And I'm sure you're not the only one who felt that way, but something about her leadership, I think, is it's something extra special, and I think that that's going to mix really well with you and the rest of the girls.
Yeah, I think her passion for the game and the passion to grow women's sports in general, not even just hockey, it's unmatched. She's extremely passionate, and she'll go the extra length, and that's exactly what she's doing. She's stepping up to coach us, and it's inspiring. She inspires me every day. Every conversation after I get off the phone with her, or I talk to her at the rink, like, I'm inspired and makes me want to go conquer the world. So she's definitely an inspiration to me, and definitely one of the reasons why I came to the Six.
Right, and I think it's going to be a really fun season. And, she has experience, like you mentioned, 18 seasons of Brown University, a couple seasons with the Shenzhen Keras Vanquiers in the CWHL, and now the Toronto Six. I'm going to ask you another question about the Toronto Six, unrelated to everything that I saw on Twitter this morning. And you probably know what I'm getting at if you were at practice last night. So I'll get to that in just a little bit. But my next note for this was now in terms of teams. So, Brooke, back to you. So from my understanding in the NWHL, the process of, joining the league is you basically apply to be a player and pick your top teams. So I don't know if that was the process when you joined. Was that how things were at the time when you moved from college to pro?
I think when I moved from college pro, it was a little different just because we were in that stage of like the CW folding. No one knew what was going to happen. But there is an option for free agents to, I guess, theoretically apply to get their information out there and to showcase who they want to talk to. They do have free agent camps that they host. So teams that are looking for extra players, they'll have, come to camps or whatever. Obviously the draft they bring through. I think this year we had 5 or 6 picks. I'm not really sure exactly on that number, but yeah. So if you get drafted, not required to sign, obviously. But for me, my situation was a little bit different just because, again, we weren't really sure what was happening. So the CW folded, I believe, in April of 2019, and I graduated in May of 2019. So I didn't have any plans in terms of like playing hockey. Obviously I wanted to play, but I was like, well, I'll end up where I end up. Like beer league is just as good for me. So, but I was really focused on getting a job. That was like my biggest thing. So I went through the summer and didn't have anything set up, did some interviews here and there, but wasn't really like set to anything. And then Kate Whitman-Annis, our GM now, reached out, and I was like, you know what? Like, I don't really have any plans right now. I have been still training here and there. I haven't skated in a while, but like, if I have an opportunity to play, like, I would definitely consider it. It's a bigger move for me, being from the New England area, just north Boston. So I was like, I'm not sure how familiar I am with New York and New Jersey. So I was a little hesitant at first, but yeah, a lot of it comes from interest from GMs too, because it's just like the NHL, excuse me, like they're trying to fill a team, they're trying to make a competitive team, and it's a business. So, I mean, obviously we don't have as many trades and things like that yet, but it's definitely getting there. I mean, we did get Kelly Babcock through a trade this year, I will say that. But yeah, no, again, my situation was a little bit more untraditional in that we just didn't know what the future was, and I was presented an opportunity, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to stick with the sport as long as I can. I love it so much. So that's kind of how I ended up here. But yeah, it's definitely unique, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that has experienced that. But again, it's, some people are, I mean, even now, like growing up, I can say I never had something to look at in terms of I want to be a professional women's hockey player. Like I didn't have that, and so now we do have that. And that's something that's a little bit more inspiring. So if you asked someone the same question in 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, you'll get completely different answers.
Right. So, Lindsay, for you this year, with this application process that I did have a glance at that kind of showed basically free agents can apply. Is that more so how it worked for you this year?
You know what? This year is very up in the air for me. I knew I wanted to play hockey. I didn't know where it was going to be. Because I was fresh out of college. I opted out to not do the draft because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do yet. I had plans that I wanted to go to New York City, and then I had a job like almost lined up. Like I was in the interview process, and unfortunately, COVID hit and full force, and that kind of put a stop to things. And so, I had to start thinking about other ways to do it. And I wasn't sure when I was working towards that job, I wasn't sure if it was going to be playing in the NW or the PW as an out of town player. And this was even before they changed their model. So honestly, I was all over the map. I thought about going to Europe, thought about it all. And finally it came to the conclusion that I think Toronto's a spot for me, with everything going on in the world. And they gave me a great opportunity. I actually had to still finish my degree throughout the summer. I'm still technically riding that out right now because I had to do a work placement in order to fulfill my degree. And it had to be in sports media, and not a lot of sports going on in this summer until the end of it, right? So I was kind of on the back burner, and I was like, I can't go to Europe. I won't get my degree if I do that. So the Six also said that I could, do my internship with them and fulfill that requirement, and in order to actually graduate and get that all done, and sooner rather than later. I didn't want that hanging over my head too much. So it was just the best fit for me all in all. And I like their mission and aligned with what I want to do with the game of hockey and everything. But so that was back in, I think, like beginning of June. So I just, they called me up and asked me and told me about what they were doing in Toronto. So I didn't fill out the form or anything. I was still trying to figure out what my next step was.
Right. And if I remember correctly from what you had told me, Mandy Cronin was the one who reached out to you when you were trying to figure out your New York plans. And of course, that being when COVID first hit. Then she said, why don't you talk with Digit? And, Digit's influence brought you to Toronto. And obviously that made the most sense, seeing as A, it's closer to home, and B, presumably safer than the United States is at this time. So, I guess to that end, and I've talked a lot about Digit, but Mandy Cronin, I know that at one point she was leading Skates before Digit arrived. Has she been present recently at Skates?
Yeah, Mandy, she was present at first, and now we're down to, we're following COVID protocols here in Ontario. So she was definitely, she hasn't been here lately because of the numbers that we're allowed to have. But yeah, she's been around. She'll come on the ice. She's a goalie herself, and goalie coach. So she works with the goalies lots, and then she does lots of behind the scenes work. She's working hard on making sure we get that locker room going, and honestly every other need that we need. So she takes care of us, and she's doing a great job.
And Brooke, you spoke very highly of Ivo Mocek, but when you look at the general managers and Kate Whitman-Annis, what's the relationship been like with her since you joined the Riveters?
Yeah, again, I really didn't know much about Kate until she had reached out to me directly. And again, at that point, I was like, well, she is showing considerate interest. So I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. And I spoke with her, and she actually lives just down the street from me now. Well, I guess I live down the street from her. But no, it's been great. She has a lot on her plate. So honestly, right when I first started playing for the Ribs, I was really impressed because she got 4 kids, 4 boys that all play sports. She's got a full-time job at a high school. I believe it's a high school, a very competitive high school. And she's doing stuff with the Rivs, and we practice later at night. So she's like strung out straight, and we travel on the weekends. So I was very impressed with her. And as far as I know, she doesn't have a very deep hockey background in terms of playing. So, just the passion that she has to be here and to continue to be here and advocate for us and be there for us as a team has been incredible. So, she's done a really great job too, obviously building the program. It is one of the founding 4 teams, but it is its own team in a sense right now because it's under her management. And I mean, as with anything else, we're learning and growing every year. So I think that especially this year, there already are a lot of changes, but even working with Evo last year, that was her first time with that coach. And he, like I said, his investment in the team. So between the two of them, it's been really, really nice. And I really am incredibly impressed with what they've been able to do in just such a short time.
Right, and whereas Digit has been very influential in her pro-feminist ways, Kate is very influential in her, deep investment in hockey, and she's showing that being on the NWHL's Twitch show, which I believe is called Twitch on Ice or something along those lines.
Open Ice, I think it is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think that's really special, just showing that her dedication is so far that, like, you mentioned that she has kids, which I actually didn't know, and that she's got a full-time job in this, and it's not stopping her. She's showing that motivation and just helping to publicize and grow the game that much more. So is that something that I guess really stands out to you when you look at her in a bigger picture kind of thing?
Yeah, I would say so, only because, I mean, for a lot of people that I've worked with, I mean, more so in college, you see it, but they come from a really heavy hockey background, or even sports to begin with, but mostly hockey. And when I first I didn't know that at first when I was talking with her, and then obviously got to going, and I'm like, oh, like, you don't really seem like a hockey player. And she's like, well, I'm not really. I mean, she does play, but I just, it's very different than some of these people that you work with who are like eat, sleep, breathe hockey. Like, that's it. But as I had mentioned, like, she's got a family, she's got a job. Like, it's not her only lifestyle, but she still pours everything she has into it. So, or, you know what I mean? Like, she always has time for the ribs. There's never too much that takes away from that. So I am really impressed with that. And again, she cares a lot about us, about the team, and not just as a team, but as players too. Like, people feel pretty comfortable going to her, asking her questions, or asking her to help with something here and there. So, but yeah, I do think that her investment in the game is pretty much unmatched in terms of, she doesn't come from a traditional hockey background. And I think that just makes it even more unique for her and for our team.
Right, and I think that comfort you speak of is really important, not just in the NWHL, at every level of hockey. Because if you can't talk to your staff, I find that there's a little bit of an issue with that. So
Definitely.
I think that's a really important aspect of the game. So we're actually going to take a rewind now to college and talk everything Syracuse. So this will go to Lindsay first, but this question, I guess, doesn't really pertain right to Syracuse, but questions after will. So for starters, Lindsay, in college, watching pro women's hockey, I believe you mentioned that you watched a little bit of the CWHL online. That was, really the only access point for pro women's hockey at the time, as NWHL only secured Twitch last year. So was that really the first time you really were able to follow pro women's hockey, I guess, regularly, given that, the world championships, which I think you mentioned at a young age you were watching from home, but that's, not or hasn't been as present in previous years?
Yeah. One of our old teammates, Megan Quinn, she played at one of our teammates at Syracuse. She played for the Fury, so we would follow her and see how she's doing and whatnot. So that was definitely probably the first time I got a good look at professional women's hockey. I know there's no team in Ottawa, so I couldn't go watch games growing up, and I had my own hockey probably at the same time if I'm in Toronto, same time. So that was definitely the first time, and also watching it at at the All-Star games when they started bringing the women in there. Got to see a little bit of that and watch that, which was pretty cool to see it all unfold. But yeah, for the most part, other than watching like world championships or the Olympics, that's the little preview I got of professional hockey, women's hockey.
Right, and that was something that you were doing regularly, following Quinn while you were at college, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. We would definitely check in and see how she's doing.
And Brooke, for you, what was your, I guess, first initial, watching of pro women's hockey like? Were you someone who watched like the Olympics and world championships and such from a young age as well?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it was necessarily from a young age, only because I grew up playing men's hockey. I never really anticipated to play hockey in high school, let alone college or beyond that. So in that sense. And honestly, every sport that I played was boys. I played boys lacrosse. I played football for a while. So anything I did was with the boys. So I was never really like, oh, I need to watch girls hockey, partially because I was in New Hampshire, you're not really exposed to it as much, but being in the Boston market, you are a little bit. But then with the CW, obviously, like that was kind of a big thing because they had the Boston Blades. And so I was familiar with it in high school a little, but not fully. I knew of the league. And then obviously they moved to Worcester, but did follow it a little bit more. Only because some of the big names that, you know, were playing at, so say for example, Amanda Pelkey, like she played at UVM. She's from Vermont. Local, we'll call her New Englander. But you knew that she played at Vermont, and you were like, well, if I'm going to play D1, like I'm going to have to play Vermont. So I'm going to play against her. So that correlation was kind of there. But no, I wouldn't say. I probably, yeah, following the NWHL teams a little bit more, because we had another teammate too, Heather Schwartz. She played for Boston for a while. That was in at that point. She was a year older than Quinny. So, and then obviously following Quinny because we were a little bit closer in age. But yeah, no, I mean, I know that we watched the World Juniors and stuff like that only because it was always U.S. versus Canada, like which team's going to win, obviously. So we were like, yeah, go U.S. But yeah, no, other than that, it was pretty faint for me. But I mean, again, just not really having that exposure growing up. And again, that's kind of what we're working towards right now.
Right. I think that's why the NWHL and what they're doing is so important in their own way. Because, you know, you look at the PWHPA, you look at the NWHL, they both got their own paths. And, you know, sure, that's fine. And, you know, you're each, you know, lighting a fire and trying to do the right thing for, you know, your own beliefs and, you know, whatnot for the next generation. I think that the expansion certainly helps with that. And the NWHL brought in the Minnesota Whitecaps and now the Toronto Six. And one last note on the Boston Blades. I know that Digit Murphy was actually the head coach of the Boston Blades at one point.
Yep.
And that was around the time of Hillary Knight and Brianna Decker and Megan Dugan. So were those players that you followed along, as you mentioned that you had some familiarity with the Blades at the time?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I did know the names, obviously Hillary Knight and Duggan. I knew Duggan only because she had gone to Cushing. As far as I'm remembering correctly, she went to Cushing and I went to St. Paul's. So obviously that prep school type thing too. But you know Hillary Knight, you know those bigger names, but I wouldn't say that I necessarily followed them for anything, again, because it wasn't like I was invested in following that team or that league or anything, because I never really had the ambition to make it that far. So yeah.
Right. All right. So now we're going to talk all things Syracuse. All right, Lindsay, I'll start with you. So first off, God, I have so many questions. I don't know where to start. Let's just talk the head coach. His name I'm actually blanking on at the moment, but you know, how has he impacted over your college career with the Orange? How has he impacted your drive to get to where you are now?
Yeah, he's definitely been a big part of it. I mean, I was recruited back in high school, and he was part of that process. And then when I got there, I actually couldn't play at first. I had to sit out a year, and it was like heartbreaking, devastating. And he was like a father, like a dad. And Paul Flanagan is it's Coach Paul. He was very super friendly, super nice during that whole health scare and issue that I had going on with my blood clots at the time. So I couldn't play, and then he was just wanted me to be a part of the team in any way that I wanted to be and I could be, because I got medically disqualified, and super nice in that form. And then after I actually like beat the odds of getting to play hockey again, and he was the first person I called when I got my blood test results back saying that I was clear. I was going to be able to play hockey again and go off blood thinners and everything. And that's another story. But I called him first, and he was like, all right, get on the ice, start practicing, like, let's go. And so he, you know, just him giving me that second chance. I don't know how many coaches would have done that. I wasn't on my skates for a solid year. Like, there is probably, I could count on one hand how many times I was on skates in that year. And he didn't even think twice about having me come back on the ice and getting back into it with the girls and being a part of the team. And even like, I remember going into an exhibition game, and I was thinking, like, my first game in it would have been almost 2 years at this point, and I got a fair shift. And I'm like, I don't know why. Like, I was expecting to sit on the bench, maybe get 2 shifts. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's actually playing me. Like, that's so nice. So that was definitely, like, that was definitely a big part of it. And he really helped develop me, and it, he invested his time. And at times he was hard on me in a good way. Coaches have to be hard on you. And it was just all pushed me to be better. And I at the times, sometimes when you're getting some heat from your coach, you don't always want to hear it or whatever. But then I take a step back and realize, if he cares that much to tell me and to, help me get better, then clearly he wants me to get better, and he cares about me as a player and wants me to be a part of this team and be better for this team. So I just have to appreciate that. And so I did, moving on from that. But he always gave me all the chances and more. And I'm super thankful for that, because if I didn't get those opportunities and if he didn't try to help me, then probably wouldn't be playing anymore. So definitely thankful for his role.
Right, and he spoke very highly of you upon your signing. Actually, I have a statement right in front of me where he said, Lindsay leaves Syracuse as one of its all-time most accomplished players. She is an exceptional leader who made her presence known at both ends of the ice. She not only was one of the CHA's best defenders, but a prolific scorer from the blue line. We wish Lindsay and the Toronto Six all the best this season. Speaking very highly of you, and I think that there's something to be said for a coach's relationship with each of its players, and I think that that's really special that he wanted you a part of the team despite your battles, and got you back on the ice healthy, and got you going. So
yeah, absolutely, I appreciate it a lot. And he is a great coach, and he is a legend in his own right as well. He's got us over 400 wins, so that's pretty impressive for a college coach.
I did hear about that. That's really impressive. All right, Brooke, what was the impact that he's had on your career?
Yeah, I mean, I would attest to the same thing, second chance, and I was shocked, to be honest with you. So originally when I was getting recruited, I narrowed my searches down to, or my decision down to Syracuse or UNH, New Hampshire, which is where I ended up. So I ended up picking New Hampshire at first because originally from there, grew up. They have a really rich hockey history, closer to home, kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do. And I wasn't quite ready to be like, I'm going to make a big move up to Syracuse. And at that point, too, the program was a little bit younger. So I was like, I think I'm just going to take the chance. I'm going to go to UNH. It's far enough away where I'm not going to have my parents on me all the time, but it's close enough where I can go home whenever I need to. So I ended up transferring from there after my second season. I took a medical redshirt year. And at that point, I was like, I'm not really where I want to be hockey-wise. I'm not where I want to be in terms of my degree. I really just wanted to get out of New England for a bit because I was like, you know what? Been here my whole life. Grew up here, was born here. Need to get out for a bit. I'll end up here probably at some point later down the road, but I need to see some other things. So when I was looking into different places, I was like, Syracuse was at the top of my list, and it never really left my mind because we played Syracuse my first year at UNH, I think, and they beat us. And I was like, oh crap, like any team that beats us, I'm like, So I never forgot it. But yeah, just going back to the recruiting thing, I was like, you know what, I really I never left on a bad foot with him when I told him that I ended up picking UNH. He wished me the best of luck, and I'm sure I'll see you down the road type of thing. So after I had talked to him about transferring, he was like, well, you're kind of contacting me at the right time. We have a couple spots opening up. We can see you fitting in here as a player. And they had a program because I highly valued my education, and they had the program that I wanted to moving forward. So that was really big for me. And he kind of understood that right when I had been talking to him at a younger age. So we ended up coming to the decision that I was going to make the move to Syracuse. And he treated me just like any other player that had been there. Obviously being a vet, so to speak, in college hockey for a while. But it was really a really nice experience, and I'm very thankful. And again, like Lindsay said, coaches have to be hard on you, and we've had our ups and downs, but he is a really, really great person, great coach. I've used him as a reference for jobs. So I have nothing but good things to say about him.
Yeah, I think, part of the coaching job is there has to be a little bit of tough love almost, but it's part of the game. But he sounds like you know someone who's really awesome and has played a great impact on both your lives and careers so far.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, next question. Lindsay, you were at Syracuse at the Newhouse School of Media, and that was for a degree in sports media. So, taking a look away from hockey for just a moment, can you talk about your time in that program and kind of where that's gotten you? Because you were covering the in the NHL bubble at Scotiabank Arena, which is kind of a testament to the work that you put in the degree that you got, or are working.
Yes. Yeah, so I did my undergrad just in regular communications. It's a pretty broad program. And then since I had to sit out that freshman year, I got that year back. And I did my master's in Newhouse in the television, radio, film production program with a sports emphasis. And Brooke was actually in Newhouse as well for public relations. And it's a great school, communication school, one of the best in the country, and that's one of the main reason why I went to Syracuse in the first place, and was trying to get into that program. When I back in high school, I applied, didn't get in because it's super competitive. Applied again after my freshman year, applied again after my sophomore year, didn't get in. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? Like I'm here for this program and I'm not even in it. Like so. And finally, I'm like, all right, one last time. I applied 3 times and got denied, and then one last time for my master's, and I finally got in, and it was probably that's like top 5 happiest days of my life. It was huge. It was right before a game too. So it was unbelievable. It's all the people there that work in that school they're all legendary. They've all been in sports media. One of my mentor and one of my professors, Olivia Stomsky, she's a producer for ESPN and she's worked at Fox Sports. Like she's done it all, and she's pretty impressive. And she still produces college football and NBA games, and then comes on the weekends, and then comes and teaches us throughout the week. Like it's incredible. And same with Matt Park. He's the voice of the Orange, and I took a play-by-play class with him. And all these people, they're what make it so great. And there's incredible alum that have come out, like Brooke Avery, and so no, it's awesome. I loved every second of it. It was very hard but very rewarding, and it definitely paid off to all the sleepless nights, staying up late doing homework, having to miss out, hang out with my friends, had assignments, had to go film videos or whatnot. Yeah, I miss it, honestly. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, there's this impression with school that your years at university, or in the States it's known as college, are some of the most impactful in your life. And Brooke, I'm sure you can attest to that. And so now, can you talk a little bit about your degree in public relations at the Newhouse School of Media?
Yeah. So again, Lindsay said it right. I mean, it is one of the most competitive programs in the country. And when I was looking at Syracuse originally, that's part of why I was there, because I knew that I wanted to be in communications. That was like the big overarching thing. Didn't know really what I wanted to do in terms of that. I really liked to write, but I didn't know if I wanted to do producing, if I wanted to be a broadcaster, all that kind of stuff. So came to Syracuse and had to apply into the program because I didn't get in the first time either. So luckily I was able to get in my second time, but a little bit of a different situation than Lindsay's. In terms of because it really does depend on when you're applying, GPAs and things like that, classes available, all that kind of stuff, what program you are applying into. So I did the PR side of it and Lindsay did the TRF side. So again, different aspects of that, but I loved the time that I spent there. So I really did learn that I want to work in sports eventually, but it wasn't necessarily what I wanted right away. Cause I was like, I went into college. I'm like, I'm going to work in sports media. That's what I want to do. Did it for a little while at UNH, came to Syracuse, did it a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? I really just like playing hockey. I like being involved in sports. I don't know if this is necessarily what I want to do right now. And being in that program kind of helped me realize that, because you don't think about all the different things that go on in order to produce a game on TV. You know what I mean? Like there are people that literally just look through a camera. There are people that literally don't get to watch any of the game. They just work on the graphics of the game. So there were different pieces of that. And I was like, nope, that's not really what I want to do. But that experience gave me a lot to work with in terms of learning what I was good at, what I wasn't good at, what I thought that I could do, what I realized that I was like, nope, I'm not very good at this. So I'm going to focus on some other things. But again, like Lindsay said too, the alumni and the connections that you make in that program are incredible. So you see Mike Tirico every single football game. He's there. Bob Costas too. Like those are big names in sports. And we have either worked with people that have worked with them, like been at seminars with them, heard people like them speak, and are able to talk with them and have a genuine conversation and are not just like reaching out on LinkedIn saying like, hey, you know what I mean? So there are genuine connections that come from that program. And I think Lindsay's seeing it right now, and I've seen it too. Like you get a lot of places because of that. And that program is incredibly well known around the country and the world. So we were both super, super lucky to be a part of that. And I, again, have nothing but good things to say about it. It is a lot of work. And especially with balancing a Division I sport, you know, you kind of have to weigh your pros and cons of it, but I would not change it for anything. And again, you value education, you value where you come from in terms of that. So yeah, I am incredibly, incredibly blessed to be a part of that alumni network.
Yeah,
And
that's like a very special experience. Sorry, Lindsay, go ahead.
so Brooke and I were roommates, and when she was she always had group projects, and she was always on the run, going to meet her, going to the library, and we're like, nerd.
Yeah, going to the library, nobody does that.
Yeah. And then the next year I'm in that program, and the group projects, so many, like everything is in a group. And I swear, like my group mates like must have hated me because I'm like, well, I have practice and like I have class, like I'm doing my internship on these hours, like can only meet at like 9 o'clock at night, and or you can't meet on the weekends because we have games. And like I swear they must have just hated me. And I felt Brooke's pain because I remember Brooke's like, oh, I got another meeting, and like be like 10 o'clock at night and she's leaving to go meet with her group. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, the Newhouse Network, man. I used to get made fun of it, and then once I got the program, I'm like, yeah, welcome.
That's incredible, really. But you know, it's one of the top programs, A, at that school, B, in the country. I think there's something to be said for that. And you know, I think that, you know, group projects, you know, to some degree might have their benefits, but yeah, you know, in college it's pushing through, especially ridiculous hours like that to get work done. And you know, between trying to find time to, you know, live normal life, meaning sleeping like a normal person, and hockey games, I only really got my first taste of that this year. And I mean, it's yeah, it's crazy. So I definitely understand that.
Well, that's just it. I remember one time my group last year, they tried to tell me, well, we're gonna have to pull an all-nighter, and I'm like, I can't. And they're like, no, like we have to get this done. I was like, I have practice at 9:30 tomorrow morning. I need to sleep. Like there's just no way. Like I can't. And they're like, well, that's what it is, Lindsay. And I was like,
yeah, that's the thing with sports too. Like you got a very irregular schedule, and a lot of the games are at night. So you work long hours, work during the day, prepare for the game, cover the game, do the after media for the game, and then you get home and you have to do it all again the next day. So
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy, but part of the program. And I mean, I've taken a look at some of the video clips, for example, from Lindsay's website, and you know, other things in the production. And yeah, that's a lot, but you know, it's part of the degree, and you know, just push through, and that's what college is all
worth
about.
it. Well worth it, for sure.
For sure. So let's go back to college now. Lindsay, I'll start with you. You were the captain for the last 2 seasons, the captaincy, and you were an assistant in your second season. So what did it mean to you to be given these titles during your time with the Orange?
oh, it's definitely an honor to wear a letter any time. So I was very honored to, you know, represent my team and help, you know, lead them and whatnot. I know Brooke and I we were leaders together at one time, and it's very rewarding. Sometimes, you know, you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and like if your team is succeeding or everyone's happiness, you feel like it's all on you. But and like I'm kind of person that like I try to make everyone happy, and I know that's not the reality of it, and so that's definitely that was definitely hard to deal with. But everyone we were lucky. We had some great teammates. Like that's what made college and college hockey so much fun, is just our team. And so it was pretty special. And but we all work together, and then we have other people to lean on as well. The coaches are always there, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, Lindsay said it pretty well, but again, yeah, just it's a lot of it has to do with the people that you're there with, because if you can't be yourself around those people, then there's no point in even really being there, because it's not you. So yeah, we had a really great time with a lot of great people, and sometimes you have to be a little bit more mature in a sense, because you're like, well, I gotta have what's best for the team in mind, or I have to be a reflection of what our team should be doing. So it does come with not, I wouldn't say consequences, but strings attached, so to speak, because you do have to be the face of the team sometimes, and it is difficult. But again, too, like, it is very rewarding, like she said, and to have people that look at you and they're like, no, like, we want you to do that for us. So yeah, I mean, but again, too, it doesn't really matter at the same time. Like, everyone's there, you're a team, you know what I mean? It's not an individual sport, you're a team. And theoretically speaking, it doesn't matter if you're a freshman or if you're a fifth year. Like, everyone should have the same voice, and should be weighed equally. And there should be no discrepancy with that. Just the only real difference should be your age. So yeah, no, I mean, it was a great experience to have that. And luckily we had a pretty nice group to do it with. But again, like, our senior class too was pretty small. So we only had 5 of us, and I think that we each brought something different to the table, and that worked really well. So we never really had any major issues or anything. And I would say that was, for the most part, the same for my 3 years there, at least. Obviously, I'll be biased and say we did it better, but yeah, no, it was just, it's a special honor, but again, it shouldn't really matter at the same time.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with your take, for sure. But since I asked her at her captaincy, I'll ask you about being an alternate captain, just in a role of leadership, and what that appointment meant to you. So can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Lindsay, but I didn't see any difference between if you had an A or you had a C or you didn't have one at all. Like, the only difference really was that we had to go to the meetings. Like, that was pretty much it. But again, like I said, with the smaller senior class, like, you trust your classmates. So, and we all lived together, which was great. So it made our certain meetings easier. But yeah, no, I mean, we just, like I said, really the only thing we had to do was go to the meetings and just talk to our coaches about what was talked about with us. But again, it didn't really matter. But I don't know, I guess it didn't really phase me at all. And that's probably just because we had a really great class, and we had a really smooth group as a whole. Like, our whole team, we had pretty well-rounded kids, and they knew what they should be doing. They knew what they shouldn't be doing. So we didn't really have much to do in terms of that sense anyway. So.
Right. That's more than fair. And again, you work as a team. It's not just, a group of, leaders and being appointed to one role. So I think that, your point to that is more than fair. So with that being said, let's get on to the next subject that I had, which is, give me 1 second. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about family impact. Sorry, I'm just trying to fix the lighting a little bit. Family impact on careers, and the kind of the background in whether it's sports or hockey. So Lindsay, I'll start with you. What was your family upbringing like?
Yeah, so I'm from Ottawa. I come from a very I come from a hockey background. We're a hockey family. My dad played. My older brother played. My uncle played in the NHL. So it's deep in our roots. My dad actually, he would make an outdoor rink right next door. There's an empty lot we built our house on it actually, and then so like the whole neighborhood would come and skate. I learned to skate out there probably before I could walk. There's pictures of me and the double bladed runners, and it's just absurd. But no, I grew up playing hockey my whole life. My parents put me in every sport. I'm sure my dad tried to encourage me to play hockey, and anything my dad tells me, I'd do the opposite. So I wanted to be a figure skater for a little while. And my parents refused to get me figure skates. They're like, no, you can have your brother's hand-me-down hockey skates. And I would go to learn to skate, like kind of like figure skating, and I'd be the only one in hockey skates. I was so embarrassed. And then finally, halfway through the hockey season, I said to my parents, I think I want to play hockey now. Because I go to power skating, and we do skills and drills. My dad is a power skating coach, and learn can skate kind of thing. So I would go to that, but I was never on a team. And then finally I was like, yeah, I think I want to play. And so they brought me out and never looked back. Here I am. And good thing, because figure skating would have been ugly. But definitely my dad played a huge role in my hockey and in my upbringing and all that. And my mom, obviously, she got me to the rinks and made sure I was fueled up for hockey all the time.
Brooke, how did it happen for you? Did your parents have any involvement in any sport at all, or because it doesn't just have to be hockey? Was there any sense of, again, athletics?
Yeah, I mean, Lindsay can definitely attest this too. My dad was so hard on me growing up, only because he always had my best interest in mind, and I think he probably saw my potential from a much younger age than I ever did. But he was never one to be like, you have to do this, you have to play hockey, you have to play in college, like all that stuff. He was just kind of like, well, you can if you actually try, or like if you actually put work into it. And I'm like, well, like if you say that, I'm going to prove you wrong, basically. But yeah, no, I grew up, I really wanted to play hockey. I knew that. That was the first sport that I ever played. Grew up, again, outdoor rink. That's where it all started. I remember having pictures. I don't necessarily remember the memory so as clear, but being at an outdoor rink, and my dad was pushing me around on he was wearing skates and I had my little boots on or whatever, and I was like, no, I want to skate, like I want to be in your skates. So he took his skates off and pushed me around, and that's kind of where it started from there. But yeah, I mean, he played in high school. My sister actually kind of beat me to it. She's a little bit older than I am, so she played at Brewster for a year, which is up in northern New Hampshire, another prep school. Didn't really like it, didn't fare well there, so came back home, played in high school for the boys team, and was one of the best players, and then went off to Manhattanville. I think she only did 2 years there, because again, she wasn't really sure what she wanted to do with her life moving forward, and she was kind of in a different spot than I was. So but she kind of paved that path for me a little bit. And again, having a competitive nature, you're like, well, I want to do what you did, but just do it better. So I grew up, again, playing boys hockey. But I was really glad that my dad or my mom too, for that matter, never really pushed me into anything. But again, just being competitive, I was like, all right, well, I want to play the top level lacrosse, football, soccer, like everything. And partially because they didn't have girls programs, but also because I was like, well, I'm the only girl and I can keep up with them. Like, why can't I play with them? That's not fair. So my parents, I could not tell you, I'm like scared to be a parent, because I'm like, if I have to do the amount of driving and pay the amount of money that my parents did, like I'm screwed. But no, they were really supportive, and I'm glad that they never like pushed me to do anything. It was more just like a natural thing for me. But again, like my mom was at every game, growing up and stuff. And obviously as things got older, conflicts with work and things like that, it's hard to get to everything. But my dad, same thing, like he would always travel with me, and again, would make as many as he could. So their support means a lot. And they still come to New Jersey, which I am shocked at, because, as you get older, you're like, I don't want to drive any more than like an hour or two. And they're like, well, why can't you just play for the team in Boston? And I'm like, well, I don't really want to be in Boston right now. And they're like, oh, now we have to drive 5 hours down to New Jersey. I'm like, well, if you love me, you'll come. No, that's a joke. That's a joke.
You're bad.
Yeah, no. So, yeah, it's good though. But I think there's the pressure of trying to do well and impress them and impress people, that because I didn't really come from a background where they were like, yeah, you got to play this. Yeah, you're super, super good. You have a dad that's, in the NHL. You got to go do this. Like Lindsay had that. So I was like, oh, good. That's why Lindsay's so good. That's why she's so much better than me. But yeah, no, I am thankful for what they gave me, and it's a very unique situation. But again, I'm sure a lot of people can say the same thing too.
Absolutely. And Lindsay, I seem to have come across your dad's Instagram page once with a new
Oh no.
jersey.
Oh no.
I only saw
Oh,
one
no.
picture, but he seems to be very supportive of you. What have the conversations been like surrounding coming to Toronto to come see you play?
We love
my God.
Keith Boo's Instagram account.
Keith Boo. Oh my God. No, my dad's super supportive. I think he's more excited than I am that I'm playing professional hockey. He didn't miss one game my senior year. I don't think he missed. My parents came to every single game. He drove to Wisconsin when we were in the NCAAs. He's a hardcore fan of mine.
He'll be at every game too. You know that.
Oh yeah, he's got all 3 jerseys so far. I'm like,
dedication.
Dad, like, how are you gonna wear all those at once? We're not even like, oh my gosh. So he's too funny, but no, he's definitely very supportive, and he'll be at every game that he can be at. So I gotta love him for that. But he also learned, he coached me growing up and all that, and he learned, I think, pretty quickly, what he can and can't say to me, which is nice. So he stopped giving me a hard time after a while, but he's super supportive.
Yeah, I think that's really awesome to hear. So that being said, let's take a look now at junior hockey, and I'll keep it on you for just a second. You played in the PWHL Provincial Women's Hockey League for 4 seasons between the Nepean Wildcats. Sorry, that's just the Nepean Wildcats, because you also played the Canada U18 team. So what impact did the Nepean Wildcats have on your development as a hockey player?
Yeah, so I played girls growing up, girls hockey, and then I made the switch over to boys for a couple of years, and then out of there, I got recruited to go play for Nepean for their junior team, and it was me and another girl. We both played boys hockey, and we were making the switch over, and her name's Sam Cogan. She played at Wisconsin, and so we made the switch over, the jump, because we got recruited over to that team, and we were 14 playing with like 18, 19-year-olds. We were pretty young, and we hadn't played with the girls. Sam had never played with the girls, and it had been a couple of years, so it was pretty big adjustment. But Nepean, we started out not so hot. We weren't a very good team for a couple of years, or for a year, and then we got strong, and we still, I'm pretty sure we still hold the record for most regular season points. So that's my little junior hockey claim to fame. But that was awesome. Those are like the best years. They're tons of fun. We were in Toronto or the GTA every other weekend. Like Brooke mentioned earlier, it's not cheap for parents hockey is not a cheap sport for parents. So my parents I think my mom mapped it out that I was in a hotel for like over a month. I spent like just over throughout the hockey season. It was crazy how much I was traveling, and that grade 12 year, I didn't get to. I missed out on a lot. I played in nationals and worlds, so I missed a couple weeks of school. I swear to God, I was never at school that year. And then also like just the weekends, we always had games Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I didn't really get to see my friends too much. It was a big sacrifice. Honestly, I'd almost say high school was more of a sacrifice than university. So, but I wouldn't change a thing for the world. But it definitely had a big impact. I know Coach Bruce, he's still coaching over there in Nepean, and he was great. And Kevin Mason and Randy Marr, they're quite the squad. And if I ever make my way back to Ottawa again, I'd love to, help them out a bit on the ice and give back to the program that gave me so much.
Absolutely. Now, Brooke, for you, I'm not terribly familiar with junior hockey in the States. However, so these leagues, this is all new to me looking at your elite prospects page. You played in the NEJHL, the AHS. Yeah, just those two leagues between St. Paul's School, Assabet Valley. Correct me if I'm saying those wrong. But point being, what was the impact that junior hockey had on you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if it's called junior hockey here. Well, I mean, it is like for the guys when they're like getting, you know what I mean, like moving through the ranks to try to get to the NHL. But I don't know if it's
differently here. So, I mean, it's all different.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm not super familiar with it. I know that they have like the Naha team and they have a couple teams. I think that's a JW, right? That's a JWHL. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But no, I never played in that. I played, like you said, Assabet Valley growing up. That was the first girls team that I had played on. They were out of Concord, Mass, which is about an hour from where I was going to school. So I grew up in New Hampshire. I'm from Concord, New Hampshire originally, which is where I went to St. Paul's. St. Paul's is one of two schools, I think, in the entire country that is 100% boarding. So even though I lived in Concord, I still had to live on campus. And it was the same thing for the kids that grew up there because there were faculty kids. Same thing. If they went to St. Paul's, you have to live in a dorm. So I would go to school Monday through Saturday because we had half days on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And then I would go down to Assabet at 5 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. My dad would come pick me up. We'd drive down. I'd have practice at 7:30 for an hour and a half. And then we'd have at least one, if not two games that afternoon. Luckily, we didn't have to travel for games. Everybody came to us because we were pretty good back then. Weird brag. Yeah, so that was nice. And then obviously as I got older, it was the same kind of thing because a lot of kids that I played with were in that same prep school system. So I don't know exactly what that league is, but I forget what it was called exactly when I was there. But it was schools like Groton, Rivers, Governor. So at Governors, I used to play against Kate Leary, who was my teammate last year, and against Alex Carpenter, who obviously is an Olympian. So players like that were all in that league. So yeah, so I was doing both. So Assabet was Sundays, St. Paul's was Monday through Saturday. So again, I never expected to go to St. Paul's. It's a very, very elite education system. Like it's incredibly well known for its education. And I think I was lucky enough at the time where they were like, well, we're kind of trying to build our athletic program a bit more. So we got to bring some like local kids in that are like athletic. So I remember my class in hockey, we all played soccer, lacrosse, and hockey. And we were all from New Hampshire. I think it was like 5 or 6 of us, which is like very unheard of when we were playing like with that school, any boarding school. So we got pretty good my junior, senior year. So that was good. But yeah, between them and Assabet, like I had an incredible experience at Assabet. Like I said, first girls program ever played for, would not change it for anything. We won 3 national championships in a row. Granted, it was only youth hockey, but still, I still have my medals. I still have my hats and everything. So that was a big deal. But I think that program especially really pushed me to be as elite as I could be because, again, never thought of anything of it. And then I remember, so I started my first year for U14s. I made the top team. U16s was kind of a weird year because I made the team, but then some of my other friends didn't make it. They were on the team below me. So I'm like, well, like, do I really want to be on this team at all? Because again, I was at that point where I was like, I'm not going anywhere after. And then my second year of U16s, I technically got cut because my coach was like, okay, well, you don't have room on the U16 team. So you're either going to play up at the U19 team or you're getting cut. Like, you're done. And I'm like, oh, crap. Like, I guess I'm almost a junior in high school now. Like, maybe I should try a little bit harder. So I played for the U19 team for 3 seasons, and we ended up winning for those 3 years that I was there. So that was a lot of fun. Played against a lot of kids that are now some of my teammates or that we still play against in the league. Because we played against Shattuck, we played against Chicago, big teams like that.
I definitely played against you, Brooke.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, so yes, we used to do a lot of tournaments in Canada too. We would do the Naha tournament in Vermont, and we would do Stony Creek. Yes, and I remember Stony Creek was a big team, and that was a huge tournament too. So Stony Creek, Nepean, there was another Canadian team. I forget who it was, but yeah, we definitely played. I definitely remember them because I still have a puck. This was a weird thing that Canadians did, and I felt so bad when we were there. They would give each player a puck after the game to like be nice. That was maybe not you, Lindsay, but when we were there,
yeah, I do.
Yeah, well, it was a Nepean team because I have a Nepean puck. Oh. I remember getting it from a player on the team. Like every player would give one person on the other team a puck. I have like a Stony Creek one, I have an Nepean one, and I have like 2 or 3 other random ones. So I was like, is this how Canadian hockey works? They're too nice up here.
Yeah, how interesting is that?
So
did not know that, and really never heard that through youth hockey, but nonetheless incredibly interesting. And yeah, since you mentioned Stony Creek, Lindsay, I'll ask you about playing for a Canadian team. You played for 1 second, it was Canada's U18 team at the World Juniors, just while we're on the focus of talking about countries. So what was your experience like, not only playing youth hockey, but at the same time getting an opportunity to be invited to represent your country?
That was really cool. That was unbelievable experience. Definitely, it was a dream come true when it happened. Getting to wear the maple leaf was something that I dreamed of since I was a little girl. So that was a pretty special moment. And then going to Worlds, unfortunately, we lost to USA in the finals. But it's still a memory I look back on, and it was incredible and really cool that I got to be a part of something like that.
And you played with some names that are within women's hockey now. And, not sure that you remember this, but small world when Sarah Evkotu-Godbout is your teammate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were actually talking about that not too long ago.
Yeah, that's really funny. I just saw that. And JC Gebhardt, who was drafted by Toronto, but opted to go to Sweden, also on the team. So have some familiar names.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So my next question is for Brooke. I'm just going to pull it up. All right, so let's take a look at where the NWHL is now. I think is especially with the reshaping. And I'm going to get my lighting back just because that looks really bad. That's better. Okay, so the NWHL had a little bit of a change in leadership as Danny Ryland stepped down so she could form the ownership group for the Buttes, Riveters, the Whitecaps, and who am I missing? The Whale. And Tyler Tumminia is taking over as commissioner now, at least interim commissioner. Don't know how permanent this is. She was the chairman of the Toronto Six. So, Brooke, I'm actually going to start with you. The Rivers have been through a lot of changes from arenas, and you played in one arena last year, playing another this year. So when you look at the impacts, and I'm sure you've had some time to look at the change, and I don't know if the team has discussed the change and what that means and such, but how do you see the benefits here?
Yeah, I mean, we have definitely talked about it as a team, and it's been a very proactive process. I think in terms of for not just our team, but the other 4 that are not privately owned, it's a big step for us too. You see teams, I mean, and again, like, don't account this for like, oh, this is why Boston is so successful because they're privately owned. Like, no, it's not like that at all. But like when you do have access to things like that, there are incentives for people to go to that team because you're going to have your equipment paid for. You're going to have a tire. You're going to have your own locker room. You know what I mean? Like those things. And it's the same in college. It's the same thing. Like, oh, this team is going to offer me to come here to play, and they have all these great things. Like, this is why I want to be there. So I think that that's like a big thing moving forward for the league, which is part of why Danny is in her position now, is she really wants every team to have that ownership and to be treated like a professional team. I wouldn't say that we are not treated professionally now. We are given a tire. We are given what we need for equipment. You know what I mean? Like everything is paid for travel wise. We're given stipends for money, for food on the road. You know what I mean? Like we are treated very well. Like, don't get me wrong on that. I think what they're trying to do is, okay, like we're here now, like let's be proactive and make it even better after that. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing in a job. Like, okay, I'm in a job right now. I have my position, I'm doing my work, but I want to make more money. I want to be more impactful in my position. Like, what can I do to be better? What can I do to get promoted? It's the same sort of thing. So I think that they have done an incredible job, not sitting back and waiting for opportunities kind of to come to them. Every sponsorship that they have, every media right that they have, like that has come from a proactive sales pitch or a proactive agreement with people, not just Danny and Ty, but there's Anya Packer who works with the PA. She's head of the PA, like all those people. there's just a lot going on behind the scenes too, that all of this is working together. And that's a big thing for us moving forward. Because again, like you see the Sixers getting a locker room. Boston has their facilities, like, and they were very successful, you know what I mean? And same thing with Minnesota and Buffalo at the time when they were owned by the Pagulas. Like, they have all these things and it's great and it's nice, but that's how it should be. And I think that's what Danny and the leadership group is working towards, because it should be a standard. It shouldn't be like, oh, we need this, like we need to get people to help us. Like, it should be no, this is baseline, this is where we need to be, and so we can make even more progress after that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Look, yeah, like I said, Canada Night Sports, like getting a locker room, I shouldn't be like, oh, nice. I should be like, no, that's what you get as a professional hockey team. And so, what do the Riveters have at Montclair State Ice Arena, given the new change for the season?
Yeah, so Montclair's great. They're an awesome facility. We practiced there last year. Again, parabolics there. It's a really nice facility because it's accessible, which is what we lacked last year. Our rink that we played in down in Monmouth Junction, great facility down there too, but it was from where I am right now, which is fairly central to where everyone else is. It was an hour drive south. So people that were originally going to games and taking public transportation to get to Barnabas, which is in Newark, can't make the games. Like, it was too far. So the accessibility thing is huge. They treat us really well. They treat us very professionally. You know, we have our own setup. We can leave our gear to air out. We always have locker rooms. We always have the ice times that we sign up for. There's never any overlap, which I know that unfortunately it does happen, scheduling issues. No, and we just have, luckily we have a space where our equipment manager can put all of his stuff, because that's a big thing for us too. We can't take care of and maintain all of our things by ourselves. There's a lot that goes into it. So our equipment manager has a whole setup, which is great. They give us tape, we have all that kind of stuff provided to us. And they say, right when they walk in, oh, are you with the Riveters? Like, all right, come this way. So we're like, all right, cool. Like, that's awesome.
Right. So, Lindsay, I'll ask the same for you in terms of, standards and growth with Tyler Tumania taking over as commissioner, and someone you got to know a little bit during her time as chairman. So, where do you see things going? And I guess with that as well, sorry, I actually blanked on my second question. So answer that first.
Yeah, I think that this is a big step for the league. Switching the model to being each team being privately owned, I think that's just like the next step. I think it's great. It was great to have the NWHL, create the league and then, make sure that the teams had everything they need. But now getting private owners, I think that just, it brings it to the next level. And then teams have there's the one team to focus on, or, like to try and grow and make it better. Whereas NW has 4 teams to focus on and make sure that they have all the resources to have. So I think it's a great step, and I think it's a step in the right direction. And I'm confident in Ty's ability. I mean, she's well accomplished woman, and she's worked in minor league baseball and everything under the sun, and she's proven herself to be accomplished. So I'm excited to see the moves that she'll make, and I've had the opportunity to speak to her a few times. So I believe in her, and I'm excited to see where she takes the league, and no matter how long she's with us.
Right, and I think she's going to do great. And one of the things she'll be looking after is a TV sponsorship deal once Twitch comes to an end following next season. And Twitch is a great tool. The broadcasters are going to, or rather than going to, they have been able to interact with the fans live as the game happens, which I think is something neat. But the outreach, it's an online site, and the growth has to take a step in the right direction to CBS or whatever. So I think that's going to be something that she looks to target. So I've got 3 minutes left with you guys. So I want to talk about Tee It Up, the new show on the Barn Burn TV network that you two are co-hosting. So tell me how that came together, and you can both just kind of go at it, and feel free to literally tee up this week's episode.
I'll start. Yeah. I'll just give a quick synopsis. Basically, Lindsay, this is all Lindsay's work. Like, she's been in sports. She wants to be in sports. Like, and she was determined. So I was just like, yeah, I'm here for it. Like, we love to talk. We like hockey. You know what I mean? Like, we like to talk about anything, and we don't want to just necessarily be like another hockey show. You want to give it like, oh, you know, like we're hockey players, we're people, we went to college, you know what I mean? Like we have a lot of stories to tell and a lot of tea to spill. So
Yeah, no, it's been I like to say it's been a long time coming between Brooke and I starting this. So yeah, I'm trying to break into this industry, the sports media industry, and Brooke is quite the wild child, and she's got a great voice. She's not scared of the camera, so she's perfect co-host. And you know, I was speaking with Joseph Pasek, and I was trying to figure out the details, and Brooke and I were talking one day, and I was like, let's just do it. And then we threw it together, and now here we are. Second episode is on Sunday at 7 p.m. live.
no spoilers yet, though. No spoilers yet.
I'll have to tune in to see what's up.
Yep.
Really looking forward to it, and was really excited to hear that you guys are both joining the network. And I think that you guys bring another element to it, as this is one of the only networks with, if not the only network with professional athletes running a show. And I think that, you know, you're both, I mean, awesome to talk to. I've loved every minute of this. And so, you know, I loved episode 1. Looking forward to what you guys have to offer going forward.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We love our fans. So
thank you so much.
Absolutely. So we are just about counting down to the final minute of this show. So before we conclude what I'm calling the Women's Hockey Extravaganza, I finally gave it a name. Where can fans catch you guys on social media? Lindsay, I'll start with you.
I am on Twitter, Lindsay at Lindsay Eastwood. Instead of O's, it's zeros. And on Instagram at Linds East with 2 T's. And then obviously Tee It Up. It's we're on Instagram at T under like sipping a tea _it up.
And I'll keep mine simple. Big Birdie 16, Twitter and Instagram. That's all I got. And Tee It Up, obviously.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Make sure to catch Tee It Up on the Barn Burn TV network Sunday at 7 p.m. Follow Brooke and Lindsay on their social media channels, and make sure you are following along Barn Burner Net on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, where you can watch the shows streamed live. But that does it for the Women's Hockey Extravaganza. Lindsay and Brooke, thank you both so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Justin.
My pleasure. So that does it again for the Women's Hockey Extravaganza. Make sure you're following along with me on Twitter at Justin Levine HBS for all your updates on the National Women's Hockey League, and not just me, but at NWHL for updates on signings and anything under the sun that's upcoming with an exciting 6th season ahead. So that does it for us. That's Brooke. That's Lindsay. I'm Justin Levine.